everyone, welcome into the Scoreboard. I'm Blake O'Rulean. On today's show, we conclude our fly fishing series with Minturn anglers, and we sit down with U.S. snowboard athlete Senna Leith. We get started today on the water with Mark Sassy and Maddie Evans.
We went through the knots, we went through the insects a little bit. Yeah. You're geared up, and now like the fourth piece of it all is, for one, you have a fly rod. We make sure we have the right flies tied onto it. And then we also try to figure out where in the river do you go and fish, because you can't just fish anywhere and expect to catch fish.
Right.
The fish congregate in certain areas for certain reasons, okay? So, if you were a fish in the middle of the summer, and you understand that warmer water temperatures
are unhealthy,
and you know that the water is colder the deeper you go, right?
And the more in the shade you are.
So if you were a fish, would you rather hang out in the shallow, sunny water, or maybe the shaded, maybe the deeper water?
Definitely the deeper water.
Okay, so that's one thing to think about. So when we stand here and you look around, there's certain places that are shaded and shallow, sunny and shallow, sunny and deep, shaded and deep. Anywhere for starters where there's deeper water, you're probably going to find fish, okay?
Right.
So keep that in mind when you fish. The guides obviously will take you out and show you where to cast and how to cast and what you're supposed to do with the rod to manipulate it to present the fly to the water so it looks as natural as possible to the fish.
Okay.
If you cast the rod out and your fly hits the water and then the current starts dragging your fly faster than the water's moving, it doesn't look natural. The fish probably won't eat it.
Right.
Okay? So we have a technique, it's called mending, where you actually create slack in your line after you cast it. So you get as long of a natural float with the speed of the current as you can with your fly.
Okay.
And mending is a big part of fishing with the dry flies. It's a big part also with the indicators and the nymphs, but it's more with the dry flies because they're so affected by all the currents, and they're honestly supposed to just sit on top of the water and float as calm as possible. Okay? On the flip side of that,
Got it.
if you're a grasshopper and you live in a tree or live on the shore, okay, let's just say Maddie's a grasshopper.
I'm a grasshopper.
She lives in the bushes.
I
and
live
she's
in the
on
bushes.
a branch, and the wind comes and knocks you off the branch into the water, okay?
I'm going to panic to get out of there as quickly as possible.
So when you're fishing with a grasshopper, it's not as imperative for it to float as calm as possible, because in real life, grasshoppers are panicking a little bit.
Right.
So they're going to flutter around a little bit. So if that fly moves every once in a while, it's okay.
Okay.
All right? If you're fishing with a tiny little dry fly that is very well aware of being in the water, they're going to sit perfectly still. So if you can't make that fly sit still, the fish is going to know and it probably won't go up and eat it. Okay?
Okay.
All right. With that being said, this is a short fly rod. This is a 7-foot 3-weight rod. Most of the rods we fish with are 9-foot 5 weights. That's pretty common. But for smaller water, smaller flies, this is a great rod, okay?
Okay.
Rods come in different stiffnesses like skis and golf club shafts, right?
Got it.
This one's got a real soft front end, so it's going to be real noodly, okay? They make rods that are much stiffer for different applications, okay?
Got it.
Okay, so once you figure out what the application is you're going to fish in, if you end up fishing down the road, then that's the direction you go with finding the right action for your rod, okay?
Got it.
Okay. We tied on the hopper.
It's pink.
Tied on the hopper. And what do we have behind it, Maddie?
The hook and a little dropper.
That's a dropper behind it, okay? So a hopper dropper. So this is going to float on the surface, and this one is going to sink down, a couple feet.
Okay.
Okay? If the fish eats that one, this one's going to disappear.
Got it.
Or the fish might actually come up and eat that.
Okay.
But first, I want to kind of show you a little bit of casting so you can kind of start with that. So let's come back over here. We're going to cast kind of in that direction, okay?
All right.
So, did you ever spin fish have you ever used a spinning rod?
Yeah.
So really, it's all, with a spinning rod, Maddie, it's all about the weight of the lure that sends it out to the target, right?
Right.
Right, does that make sense?
Yeah.
All you do is press the button and cock your wrist and let it go.
Right.
With a fly rod, there's no weight built into these little flies, right? So you can't rely on the fly.
You got to rely on yourself.
You got to rely on yourself partially, but it's all about the casting motion to get the fly out to the target. So unlike spin fishing where you just go back and you whip it, you got to have a little rhythm to it, okay? It's not about power, it's about finesse.
Got it. All about the finesse.
Especially with a smaller rod and smaller water. So I'm going to pull out some of this fly line and show you some of the basics, okay?
Okay.
We bring it back and we just gently toss it out, right?
Okay.
And then you follow it. See that?
Yep.
We're not doing a lot of this. We don't need to. We'll pull out a little more fly line and we'll gently toss it out, okay? And we'll follow it. That's pretty natural, right?
Yeah.
Okay. If we need to do a mend, basically after you cast, you take the tip of the rod, picture it like a paintbrush, and you're going to paint your fly line into a backwards C with a fly line, okay? So like this. You go like this, and then we're going to go like that with it, right? See how we made a big loop now?
Yeah.
Now once we do that, the current's going to affect that first and not your fly. So when you're fly fishing, mending is a big piece of it all the time.
Welcome back into the Scoreboard. Before the break, Mark Sassy from Minturn Anglers gave Maddie some pointers for beginners in fly fishing. Let's head back out to the river for the conclusion of our fly fishing series.
So
The mending.
Yeah, so mending is creating slack line in the line between your rod and the fly. So you cast it out, then you make a C backwards. Current's going to affect that first and not your fly. You cast it out, you take the tip and make a little C. See that? Little C backwards. Little C. And then sometimes during one cast, you'll make 10 of these to keep creating slack. And depending upon what the current's doing, if there's an eddy and it's coming back at you, you'll do a downstream mend and then an upstream mend. You're always watching that fly to get it to be as natural as possible in the water.
Okay.
And we don't need to slam it down. Okay?
I got it. The
It's all
finesse.
about waiting and then just let it go out nice and easy.
Okay.
And then do a little mend, okay? Another suggestion for you, you make the cast, and then that line will go behind your finger, okay?
Okay.
If you get a bite, you lock that finger and you gently pick the rod tip up.
Okay.
And the fish will go the other way and they'll set the hook on themselves. You don't need to
Yank
pull
it.
the head off the fish,
Okay.
okay? Okay, so let's just try a little bit to start, okay?
Okay.
Nice and easy.
And I do it with the hand that I use as my dominant hand.
Yeah,
correct?
yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna help you out. You go ahead, you can do one first. Okay. Point your rod tip where you want it to go. So picture
Okay.
over there, okay?
Right.
You don't need two hands. Get rid of that hand. Loosen up your shoulder, loosen up your elbow, and just go nice and easy up and nice and easy down, okay? One thing you're doing automatically, picture the face of a clock over your shoulder right here,
Okay.
right? There's midnight, there's noon. That's 10 o'clock. Look right here. 10, 2. Try to stay between like 10 and 1-ish, okay?
Okay.
Front cast. You just came back to about 6 o'clock on the back cast.
Got it.
Okay, so try to stop up high and then put it right out there. It'll come out, it'll go out better, okay? Okay, give it a little bit more of a, give it a little more pop off the water. Pop to stop, go. Better, yeah, see that?
Okay.
And once you get that basic down, then you can try doing one of those mends. 3 o'clock, Maddie, try one.
Watch out. I don't want to hit you with the...
You're okay, you got this.
it's... Oh, no, it's not there. It's there.
Good.
It's there. It's there. Okay, I thought I lost it for a second. Oh, 3 o'clock, Mark.
Awesome. That's better. That was better right there. Okay, so now while you're doing it, look up here and see where your rod is. You do your cast and see where you go. Go forward. There you go. Good.
Okay.
Okay. Put one out there and then do a little mend for me. And that's right. You just want to wiggle the tip of the rod just a little bit. One more time. Let me show you. If you pull it too hard, you're going to drag the fly, right?
Right.
So it's really just very subtle.
Okay.
Just the tip of the rod, okay?
Just a little C.
Little. Gentle C. There you go.
Okay.
But you want to make sure that you're seeing the C, right?
Right.
And we have that leader. Let me put a little more line out so you can actually see the fly line. Okay, now watch. Out there. See the C in the water right here?
Yeah.
Yep. So just make sure you're kind of
I got to get my power stance on
That's
that.
where we're falling. You don't need a power stand. Okay, maybe you do. Here you go.
I think the power stance brings some confidence in it.
Okay. Little men. Okay. Okay. Shoot more towards the camera.
Okay.
Okay. Now take this hand, let go of the fly line. Pull a little bit of line out with your hand out of the reel. Pull it out. Now pinch it off again. And then wiggle the tip and let that line come out. Okay, now do it again with a little more line, okay? Don't come back so far. The more line you keep out, the more line you cast with, the less far you have to come back.
Okay.
Okay, because there you go, good. And try not to drag it if you can, all right? Now, if we didn't just stir all the water up with camera guys and with what's going on, there's a good chance with what you have happening right now that you possibly could catch a fish. But I think with what we're up against, probably not, but that's fine because this is a training camp of sorts, right?
Right.
I think the plan will be to approach this again with our next little installment with you actually on the water. I have all my stuff and we're actually going to go and fish, and we're going to fish until we catch fish.
I love it.
But this is just, here, pass me that. That's just one way to present, okay?
Okay.
I mean, there's times when you'll see people and they'll be doing a lot of this kind of stuff, right? They're going to carry a lot of line in the air, right?
Right.
To go really far, because that's the cool thing to do, because they all saw a river runs through it.
Right.
And you can mend that far too, like that, see? But you don't always have to fish far like that. You can always also fish nice and close. And this is a smaller, more wiggly rod, so fishing far like that, you lose a lot of control once you start incorporating a lot more distance into it. But there is a lot of different things that we can do, okay? So if the hopper dropper isn't working, oh, see that wiggle?
Yeah.
That could have been a fish. If the hopper dropper isn't working, then we're going to have more flies to find something that will work.
Okay.
Okay. What do you think so far about this whole fishing thing?
I think it's great until I have to touch the fish.
And that's part of it. That's why you have a fishing guide with you, right?
Right.
Or a net.
Well, that's why you're going to teach me.
Well, let me explain real quick. So, for me, since I've been kind of fishing for a long time, I have more enjoyment sometimes not actually fishing, but watching other people fish and catch fish. So that's another piece that people can get out of doing what we do.
Right.
Right?
Right.
It's about a way to disconnect and to be out on the river. It's pretty mesmerizing, isn't it? Peaceful?
It's
right?
so peaceful.
I saw fish rising over there. I thought maybe we could get it. So what do you say, next up we actually go and do it all, okay?
I'm in.
You are?
I'm so in. Yeah, the journey has started. Now we have to finish it.
Yeah, but then that's the start. Once it's finished, it's started.
I know.
Because then you have to do it more.
Yeah, I'll just
Okay.
come hang out with you and have you take me.
I love it. Okay, I'm good. You good?
I'm good.
All right, everybody. Mark and Maddie, we'll be right back. Have a good day. Be safe. Don't fall.
Welcome back to the Scoreboard. Recently, U.S. snowboard athlete Senna Leith joined us to discuss his training for the upcoming winter season. Let's hear what he had to say.
We have so many great local athletes here in our community, and some of them are very intense, competing in very intense sports. And I've got U.S. snowboard team athlete Senna Leith joining us on the couch. Good morning, Senna.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming in. You kind of have a down moment in your very large travel schedule. You're always on the go.
Yeah, it's a nice little calm period amongst the craziness right now.
Before the storm.
Oh, yeah.
Winter's around the corner. We're going to be into ski snowboard season before we know it.
Oh, I mean, even getting in my truck this morning, coming here, I was like, I need a little bit of a jacket. It's kind of cold outside this morning. I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready for that yet. I haven't had enough summer.
It's fall weather.
Yeah.
Well, because you train in the summer, and so you're on the go, and then you're in the cold for what most of us are doing is like relaxing in the sun, and you're out on icebergs skiing
Yeah,
and
I'm
snowboarding.
like, definitely get that. I never really get the full summer, because we have to prioritize our winter training somewhere else in the summer, whether it's Europe or South America. So I got a little bit of that this summer, but right now I'm just trying to enjoy this last little bit of warmth I can and enjoy what the valley has to offer,
Right, and so you're kind of getting back into the swing of dryland training right now. And so can you walk us through how intense your dryland training is?
It's pretty brutal, honestly, right now. I'm very sore, but it's a major part of our career and what we have to do heading into the winter. 5 days a week I'm in the gym. I work out actually right over here at the Westin. It's my favorite little spot. They always have every piece of equipment I need. I have definitely diverse training. Anything you can think of, we usually do. So try to keep the body as ready as I can for my sport, you know?
Which is really intense. And so let's talk a little bit about your sport, because you're not just like going out there and throwing a couple tricks or whatever. You're doing an intense sport.
Yeah, it's pretty physically exhausting. You know, it's our runs can range from a minute to a minute and a half, and that's pretty much all out exertion for that whole amount of time. So you really have to be prepared for, I mean, whatever can happen. I mean, you could get hit. You never know what's going to happen in my sport. There's a lot of variables at play, so you really have to keep ready for whatever's coming your way.
Which is really intense. And so snowboard cross.
Yeah, snowboard cross. I guess we didn't say that name.
Yeah. And how did you get into snowboard cross? Out of all of the disciplines that you could have picked for snowboarding, what was the draw? What was the appeal to the snowboard cross?
So when I was a little kid, I did all the disciplines: half pipe, slopestyle, gates, border cross. And as time went on, I kind of found my niche and what I was best at and what I enjoyed most. And the beauty of snowboard cross is it's not a subjective sport. You know, in half pipe and slopestyle, there's judging. When it comes to snowboard cross, it's pretty straightforward. The gate drops, everybody goes, first person across the line. You know, you don't have to worry about this other stuff. It's very straightforward. And to me, it was the aspect of snowboarding I connected with the most on like a simple level, even though it's kind of crazy, but it was just like how it worked was easy for me to connect with. And I was like, okay, well, this seems like my niche. I'm just going to run with it. So when I was 15, I kind of decided to really only focus on snowboard cross and start climbing the ladder to where I'm at now.
Which is really intense, because for people who have never seen snowboard cross, you guys all drop the gate at the same time. You all flush out of the gate, and you're side by side. So that if one person goes down, potentially maybe the person that's in first goes down, there's a possibility he takes everyone down with him.
Yeah, it's not fun when that happens, but we try to avoid that the best that we can. You know,
Yeah.
You know when I watch it on TV, I'm like, God, it's so crazy, but. You know, for me, I'm kind of living in that zone, so I'm so used to being so close to people and getting so intense and gnarly that I'm like, when I'm doing it, I'm like, that's not that crazy, but then I watch it back, I'm like, oh, maybe it is kind of that crazy, you know? But
Right. Well, then when you go
to
up
it.
on the mountain and there's a billion people around and you're like trying to have a fun family ski afternoon, and you're like, I have to dodge all these humans. You're like, I got it.
For real, well, I laugh about that. I'll go out on Vail here with my friends, and it's like mayhem. All these people are up visiting, and I'm like, whatever, you just slice and dice, just go on through, you know, it's like what I'm used to. And they're like, yo, it's like so many people like, oh, yeah, I guess my brain's just a little bit different how it works like that.
Yeah,
you
you're
know?
like, I'm not that scared of getting close to people, because this is what I do as like professional
I
sport.
still prefer when it's nice and empty though. I don't like having to have
Right, of course.
dodge people left and right, you know?
As we all do. And so for your continued summer training, you're going to be at the Westin, you're going to be working out. So if people go to the Westin, say hi to Senna, because he's wonderful.
It's the best gym around here. I'm in there every day.
And you should just say hi, because he's super nice, and what a cool local athlete you are. And then as you kind of approach fall and getting back on snow, how is the transition from kind of having your little break lull period to then being back on snow?
So it's going to be pretty full on. In October, we'll head back to Europe for like a month and a half stint. We'll be in Switzerland training on the glaciers, and then the hopes that we're actually going to have our first World Cup of the year in France at the very end of October, which will be like the earliest in the year I've ever had a World Cup. So
Wow.
fingers crossed that the glaciers hold up, because it's being really warm in Europe right now. So that's kind of like the big plan of getting back into the swing of things.
And when you're on the road and you're training and you're just like nonstop going, how do you kind of keep your sanity and keep yourself grounded and level, that you're basically living out of suitcases with just like copious amounts of suitcases that you have to travel with?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes people think, oh, you're living out of a suitcase, living out of like one little thing. I mean, I travel with so much stuff. It's never like I have everything I need on the road. So no matter how long I'm on the road, it always kind of feels like I'm at home, because I have everything I need. But you know, I'm really lucky to have some awesome teammates that are my best friends. So that's a good way to decompress, is just doing activities with them. You know, you're so busy on the road with training that the time passes really quick. But you know, I love photography. That's like a big way that I decompress on the road. Is if I'm ever stressed or anxiety or just need to escape by myself, I can just walk around these beautiful places that I get to visit for my sport and just take photos. And that's really kind of what helps me ground myself and center, so I don't get lost in the craziness.
But just, it's important that you have one of those like little things that you can hold on to so
100%.
Deeply, because if not, I feel like insanity would strike me before I knew it.
Oh yeah, I mean, sometimes you're just like there in the hotel room, like, yo, this is horrible. Especially with COVID, you know, sometimes you've been so limited on what you can do on the road.
Right.
Thankfully now it's getting a little bit more relaxed and open, but for a while there you're like, all right, well, I guess I'm stuck in this hotel room for a little bit. Like,
I'm just gonna be
how much
here.
Netflix can I watch?
Exactly. Well,
Yeah.
and I mean, that has to be hard as you're traveling and you have to be COVID tested. And then if anything comes up weird, or you have to quarantine somewhere where you don't know
yeah.
anyone, you don't have the resources of your family and your friends right there. And so that has to be intense too. Last winter, you had a crazy travel year.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. It was all over the place.
And so are you anticipating this winter to be that busy as well?
I hope so, because the more events, the better, you know. Like,
Right.
The travel, you just do it, you know, and it's thankfully the travel's a little bit better now because of COVID. It's relaxed. It's funny, even during the height of COVID, it was lovely traveling because all our planes were empty. Everywhere we went was like so easy, whereas now it's like all these people are back. But it's nice that you don't have to stress as much about COVID on the road, you know.
Right.
And thankfully for the first 2 years, I actually dodged COVID. Got it for the first time on just training camp this summer in France. But my quarantine wasn't horrible because I wasn't like, I was in the mountains. I was able to go on walks. Or it's just
Right.
like at the beginning, if you had COVID, you're like, all right,
You're stuck in
shut
that
him
room,
out. We're
like-
not talking to him,
Right.
you know. So I'm glad that we're in that better stage with COVID on the road.
And if people are interested in seeing kind of what you're doing and how your summer training is progressing and your winter is starting to kick off, hopefully in October.
Yeah,
what's
here
the-
soon.
What's the best way for them to kind of keep tabs on you?
Definitely through social media. My Instagram @SennaLeith is definitely the main place. Facebook, trying to grow Twitter and TikTok, even though I don't like them as much. But you know, yeah, social media. Instagram's kind of my main hub where I try to share my life and my travel and training and all that stuff.
Which you're about to go on kind of a more personal trip right now, which is
Yeah.
really nice because I think that maybe you just need that little bit of mental decompress.
Totally. You know, with my sport, I've seen so much of the world and I'm so thankful for it, but I feel like I haven't seen that much of my own country. I feel like
Right.
I've only been to 3 national parks, which is like kind of embarrassing. And so, yeah, I'm going on a little road trip here starting next week. I'm going to go for probably 4 weeks on the road and see a whole bunch of national parks all up through the whole western half of the U.S. It's going to be awesome.
That's amazing.
It's a lot of planning into this road trip, though. Like, part of it's going to be a little loose and run and gun, but I have to organize where I'm going to train every single day on the road,
Right.
in addition to all these little adventures I have planned. So, but I'm excited. I think it'll be a good way for me to decompress and just explore this other aspect of life so I don't get too lost in my career. And then a couple weeks after that road trip finishes, it's back into the real deal on the road for my sport. So it'll be a nice little balance, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some living out of a suitcase, but like a fun way that's not work.
Yeah, I'm kind of like living out of my truck with a bunch of suitcases in it with all my stuff. You know?
Right. Senna, thank you so much for coming in, giving us all this great information and taking the time to chat with us this morning.
Thanks for having me. It was lovely.
We love having you. Make sure that you support our local athletes because they're absolutely incredible. And if you want to see Senna, you want to meet him in person, then just head over to the Westin while he's here for the next couple of days training before he goes out on his big road trip. And make sure you follow him on social media.
That's all the time we have for this episode of The Scoreboard. If you have a story idea, email it to us at scoreboard@tv8vail.com. We can't wait to hear from you. As always, visit our website, thescoreboardnation.com, to see content you may have missed. And for the entire Scoreboard team, I am Blake O'Rulian, and we will see you all next time.